Ladies and gentlemen, there's a simple truth about human nature we often overlook. People don't respond to what we do. They respond to why we do it. Every day, we go through life trying to fit in, trying to be liked, trying to win approval. But what if I told you that none of that truly shifts how people treat you? What if there was one thing, just one action, one mindset shift that could change everything? Do this once and watch how people treat you differently. Not because you're louder, not because you're trying harder, but because you're finally showing up in a way that's aligned with who you really are. Today, I'm not here to give you a list of tactics. I'm here to help you reconnect with something deeper, the reason people follow leaders, respect individuals, and trust with loyalty. Because the world doesn't change when you change how you act. The world changes when you change how you show up. Let's begin. Respect starts with self-respect. It sounds simple, almost obvious, but it's one of the most overlooked truths in our lives. We often want others to treat us better, to recognize our worth, to speak to us with kindness, or to appreciate what we bring to the table. But here's the harsh reality: no one will respect you more than you respect yourself. And until you understand what self-respect really means, you'll always be chasing validation instead of commanding it. Self-respect is not arrogance. It's not about thinking you're better than others. It's about understanding your value so deeply that you no longer feel the need to convince anyone of it. It's the internal knowing that your presence matters, that your thoughts and feelings are valid, and that your standards are worth upholding. And this internal shift is the foundation of how the world learns to treat you. Most people don't realize that they're training others every day on how to treat them. The way you react when someone crosses a line, the way you carry yourself in a room, the way you allow certain behaviors to go unchecked, all of it sends a signal. When you lack self-respect, you subconsciously allow disrespect. You tolerate what makes you uncomfortable. You agree when you mean no. You stay quiet when you should speak up. And all of this adds up. Slowly, people begin to treat you as someone who doesn't have a voice, who can be overlooked, who is always available, who always says yes. But something powerful happens when you begin to respect yourself. You start making different choices, not because you're trying to prove a point, but because you no longer want to betray yourself. You leave conversations that feel one-sided. You decline invitations that don't align with your values. You stop chasing people who clearly don't care, and the shift is not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet, it's calm, but it's unmistakable. People notice the difference even if they can't name it. They sense a boundary they hadn't sensed before. They adjust how they approach you. Some might be uncomfortable with it, especially if they benefited from your lack of self-respect before. But others will rise to meet you. They will value your time more. They will listen more intently. They will take your presence more seriously because you've shown them through your actions that you value yourself. Self-respect also means holding yourself accountable. It's not just about demanding more from others. It's about asking more from yourself. Are you showing up for your goals? Are you keeping promises to yourself? Are you speaking kindly about yourself when no one else is around? Are you taking care of your body, your mind, your spirit? These things matter. When you respect yourself, you no longer tolerate the excuses you used to live behind. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop apologizing for your growth. And let's talk about energy. There is a difference in the energy of someone who respects themselves. They don't rush to fill awkward silences. They don't chase applause. They don't explain their every decision. They move with clarity because they trust themselves. That kind of energy is magnetic. People don't just notice it. They're drawn to it. They want to understand it. They want to be around it. And that's how everything begins to shift. The irony is, most of us wait for someone to treat us with the kind of respect we've never given ourselves. We wait to be chosen. We wait to be seen. But the moment you choose yourself, the moment you see your own worth, is the moment everything begins to change. Not because people suddenly become different, but because you do. You no longer filter your decisions through fear or guilt or insecurity. You make them from a place of alignment, and people can feel that. So if you want to see people treat you differently, if you want to be spoken to with more respect, valued more deeply, trusted more fully, start with the one person you've been neglecting the most. Respect isn't something you ask for, it's something you embody. And when you do, the world can't help but reflect it back to you. Setting boundaries is not about pushing people away. It's about honoring your space, your energy, and your worth. For too long, many of us have been conditioned to believe that saying yes makes us good, that being agreeable makes us likable, and that prioritizing ourselves makes us selfish. But that belief system doesn't lead to respect. It leads to burnout, resentment, and relationships that feel one-sided. The truth is, people treat you the way you teach them to treat you. When you say yes, Out of guilt, when you keep quiet to avoid conflict, when you let others overstep your comfort zone without consequences, you're showing them that your needs come second. You're showing them that it's okay to take more than they give. And over time, that becomes the norm. Not because people are inherently unkind, but because they follow the cues you give them. Boundaries are not walls. They are not rigid barriers meant to isolate or punish. Boundaries are lines drawn from clarity and self-awareness. They define where you end and someone else begins. They are a declaration of what you're available for and what you're not. And when you set them with honesty and firmness, not anger, they become the foundation for healthier, more respectful relationships. One of the most powerful things you can do is learn to say no without explanation. Not every no needs a backstory. Not every decision needs to be justified. When you know your limits and you honor them without guilt, you are practicing radical self-respect. You're saying to the world, I matter. My energy matters. My peace matters. And people may not like it at first, especially if they've benefited from your lack of boundaries. But over time, they'll either adjust or they'll leave. Either way, you win. Because what you're left with are people who value you for who you are, not for what they can get from you. Boundaries also clarify expectations. When you communicate clearly, you reduce misunderstandings and resentment. You stop assuming people should know how you feel or what you need. You stop expecting them to guess. And in that clarity, there's peace, there's freedom. Because you're not constantly managing other people's feelings or tiptoeing around conflict. You're showing up as someone who knows themselves and leads with integrity. But setting boundaries isn't always easy. It comes with discomfort, especially if you've spent your life being the peacemaker, the giver, the one who holds it all together. The first few times you assert your boundaries, it might feel awkward. You might second guess yourself. You might worry about being misunderstood. That's normal. Growth rarely feels comfortable at first. But the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. And the more respect you earn, not just from others, but from yourself. You start to notice shifts. People begin to pause before making demands. They start asking instead of assuming. They become more mindful of your time and your energy. Why? Because your boundaries have taught them to. You've created a new dynamic, one rooted in mutual respect instead of silent expectation. Boundaries also protect your mental and emotional well-being. They prevent you from becoming overwhelmed, from stretching yourself too thin, from losing yourself in the process of pleasing others. They allow you to recharge, to focus on what matters, to be fully present where it counts. And when you operate from that place of clarity, intention, and peace, you show up better in every area of your life. It's important to remember that you are not responsible for how others react to your boundaries. You're only responsible for communicating them clearly and standing by them consistently. Some people will applaud your growth. Others might push back. That's not your burden to carry. Your job is to honor yourself. Because when you do, you give others permission to do the same. So if you're tired of being taken for granted, if you're done feeling drained and unappreciated, start by checking your boundaries. Ask yourself where you've been saying yes when you meant no. Where have you been silent when you should have spoken up? Where have you been sacrificing your peace for the comfort of others? You don't need to be rude. You don't need to be loud. You just need to be clear. And once you are, everything starts to shift. People begin to see you differently. They approach you with more thoughtfulness, more respect, more care. Not because you demanded it, but because you modeled it. And that's the power of setting boundaries, not walls. Silence is powerful. In a world where noise is constant and everyone is trying to be heard, silence often speaks louder than words. We're conditioned to believe that we need to explain ourselves, justify our choices, and respond to every comment or criticism to be understood or respected. But the truth is, real strength often lies in what we choose not to say. When you start to embrace silence, especially in moments where you'd normally over-explain, defend, or seek validation, people begin to perceive you differently. They start to see you as someone who is grounded, someone who isn't rattled by opinions or easily pulled into unnecessary conversations. You stop broadcasting your insecurities and start radiating calm confidence. That shift doesn't just change how you feel about yourself, it completely transforms how people treat you. Over-explaining is a habit rooted in insecurity. It's the unconscious belief that your thoughts, feelings, or decisions aren't valid unless someone else understands or approves of them. You say no to something and immediately follow it with 5 reasons why. You make a choice and feel the urge to defend it before anyone even questions you. But all of that energy communicates one thing: uncertainty. And when you sound unsure of yourself, people treat you accordingly. Silence, on the other hand, says, I don't need your permission. It says, I trust myself. When you simply say no and leave it at that, Or when you choose not to respond to drama, disrespect, or manipulation, you send a clear message. You're not available for nonsense. And the people around you begin to sense your boundaries, even without you spelling them out. Silence is also a response. Not every comment deserves your energy. Not every attack needs a defense. When someone disrespects you, insults you, or tries to provoke you, silence can be the most powerful statement you make. It's not weakness. It's restraint. It's the kind of self-control that shows you're operating on a different level. You don't need to engage to prove a point. Your silence is the point. This doesn't mean you become passive or never speak your mind. It means you choose your words wisely and use them intentionally. You speak when it matters, not when your ego demands attention. And when you do speak, people listen because you've trained them to recognize that your words carry weight. And think about the people you admire most, leaders, mentors, respected figures. They rarely talk just to fill the space. They listen. They observe. They take their time. And when they speak, their words are measured, impactful. That presence, that quiet confidence is what sets them apart. They don't chase attention. They command it simply by being intentional with their energy. The same applies to you. The moment you explaining yourself unnecessarily, stop justifying every decision, stop reacting to everything, you begin to reclaim your power. You start to value your own approval more than anyone else's. And in doing so, others start valuing it too. People begin to approach you with more care. They think twice before making careless remarks. They stop expecting instant access to your thoughts and emotions. And here's something important: silence also gives you time to think. In conversations, in conflict, in moments of tension, the pause you create by staying quiet, even for just a few seconds, can make all the difference. It allows you to respond instead of react. It gives you the upper hand in emotional control. It shows that you are intentional, not impulsive. And that creates trust and respect, not just from others, but within yourself. Silence also leaves space for reveal themselves. When you don't rush to fill in the gaps, people show you who they really are. They'll speak more, reveal more, and in that quiet space, you gain clarity about their intentions, their character, and their respect or lack of it for you. So if you want people to treat you differently, try this: speak less. Say only what needs to be said. Let your actions carry more meaning than your words. Watch how people lean in a little more when you speak, because they know you don't waste words. Watch how disrespect fades away when you no longer give it oxygen. Watch how people begin to approach you with more thoughtfulness, simply because you've shown that your energy is not easily accessed or spent. Silence isn't emptiness. It's full of strength, clarity, and control. In a noisy world, the one who masters silence stands out. The one who doesn't rush to explain becomes the one others listen to. The one who doesn't react becomes the one others respect. Use silence not hide, but to lead. Authenticity is magnetic. In a world where so many people are trying to fit in, trying to be like it, or trying to meet expectations that aren't even their own, there's something undeniably powerful about someone who is unapologetically themselves. When you stop chasing approval and start showing up as your true self, everything changes, especially the way people treat you. We grow up learning how to perform. We learn which parts of ourselves are acceptable, which parts to hide, and which versions of us get praise or attention. So we start editing ourselves. We say what people want to hear. We wear masks to avoid judgment. We follow trends, mimic others, and silence our own voice, all in the hope of belonging. But here's the true thing: the more you try to be what people want, the less they value who you really are. Approval seeking is exhausting. It requires constant monitoring, constant adjusting, and constant fear of rejection. You walk on eggshells, afraid to say the wrong thing. You overcommit because you don't want to disappoint. You shrink your light so others won't feel uncomfortable. And in the process, you lose yourself. You lose your power. You lose your identity. Authenticity, on the other hand, is freedom. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about showing up without the filter, without the script, without the performance. It's being honest about what you like, you don't, what you believe, and what you stand for. And when you do that consistently, people may not always agree with you, but they will respect you. The irony is the very thing we think will make us more accepted, approval seeking, is what makes us forgettable. Because if you're always adjusting yourself to please others, no one ever gets to connect with the real you. You become a reflection of what others want, not a reflection of who you are. And people can feel that. They may be polite to you, they may tolerate you, but they won't be drawn to you. There's no gravity in a personality that shifts with every environment. When you're authentic, you create connection, real connection, the kind that doesn't require you to perform, the kind that allows people to see you and say, "Me too." You attract people who resonate with your truth, not your act. And yes, being authentic means not everyone will like you, but that's a gift, not a problem. because you start filtering out the people who were only there for a version of you that wasn't even real. You also start building confidence, not from external applause, but from internal alignment. Confidence isn't everyone likes me. Confidence is I like me, even if not everyone does. That kind of self-trust can't be faked. It's built through repeated acts of honesty. Speaking your truth even when it's hard, standing by your values even when it's unpopular, and being yourself even when you feel vulnerable. And the impact of this is massive. People start treating you differently. They start showing up with more honesty because you've made it safe to do so. They respect your opinions because you're not afraid to share them. They value your time because you're not trying to prove yourself. You're not seeking to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. Authenticity also disrupts patterns. When you stop seeking approval, people who were used to manipulating you, guilt-tripping you, or controlling your choices begin to lose their grip. You stop reacting to pressure. You stop bending to please. And while this might upset some people at first, what you're really doing is setting a new standard for how you expect to be treated and for how you show up in the world. Living authentically doesn't mean you stop growing or listening to feedback. It means you stop compromising your essence to gain temporary validation. It means you listen to your inner voice louder than the noise around you. And in doing so, you create a life and a presence that people can't ignore. So if you want to be respected, valued, and treated with genuine care, stop pretending. Stop performing. Stop shape-shifting to fit into places you were never meant to belong. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs you fully, honestly, and perfectly. Because the moment you show up as yourself is the moment people begin to see you, not just look at you. And that's when everything changes. Confidence isn't loud, it's certain. It doesn't need to shout, it doesn't need to dominate, it doesn't need to prove itself. True confidence is quiet, grounded, reconnect, and unshakable. It's the kind of presence that walks into a room and doesn't have to say a word for people to feel it. It's not about being the center of attention. It's about knowing who or whether anyone is watching or not. For most people, confidence has been misunderstood. We often associate it with extroversion, boldness, or charisma. We think it looks like being outspoken, commanding attention, or being the loudest voice in the room. But in reality, those are sometimes just performances. Insecurity can wear the mask of arrogance. Desperation for approval can be mistaken for charm. Loudness is not the same as certainty. True confidence starts from within. It's built through self-trust, through knowing that no matter what happens, you'll be okay. That you don't need to control every situation, every opinion, or every outcome to feel secure in yourself. This kind of confidence is quiet because it doesn't need the spotlight. It doesn't seek validation to feel worthy. It simply why is. You see it in people who listen more than they speak, in those who hold their ground without attacking, in those who can admit when they don't know something without feeling small. That's confidence. It's humility with strength. It's presence without pressure. It's choosing stillness over spectacle. When you embody this quiet confidence, people begin to treat you differently. They sense that you're not easily shaken, that you don't need their approval, but you welcome their respect. And because you don't chase validation, you get more of it. People are drawn to those who are at peace with themselves because it's rare, it's refreshing, and it's real. Confidence also shows up in how you handle rejection, criticism, and failure. The loud kind of confidence often crumbles when things don't go as planned. But true confidence sees setbacks as part of the process. It doesn't panic when things fall apart because it doesn't hinge its worth on external success. It says, this didn't work, but I'm still whole. That mindset is what makes someone truly powerful. Another powerful sign of confidence is the ability to say no, to walk away from things that don't serve you, to speak your truth even when your voice shakes, because real confidence isn't about control. It's about choice. It's about choosing yourself even when it's uncomfortable, even when others don't understand. And when people see you make those choices, they begin to respect your time, your space, and your values more deeply. Confident people don't need to explain themselves excessively. They know that their decisions, values, and boundaries are valid, even if others disagreed. They don't waste energy trying to be understood by those who are committed to misunderstanding them. And that's a liberating way to live. Because the more you need others to get you, the more you hand over your power. Confidence also shifts how you carry yourself. It's in your posture, your eye contact, your tone of voice. It's in how you show up when no one's watching. Are you consistent with your values? Do you follow through on your word? Do you stand tall, not because you're trying to appear strong, but because you know you are? These subtle signals send a loud messaging, I trust myself. And people respond to that with trust and respect of their own. When you're truly confident, you don't compete. You don't compare, you connect, you celebrate others without questioning your own worth. You're not threatened by someone else's success because you know there's space for everyone. That sense of abundance, of inner security, creates an energy that draws the right people toward you and distances the wrong ones. You stop trying to prove and you start to be. So if you want to change the way people treat you, stop focusing on being impressive and start focusing on being secure. Build that quiet certainty. Choose stillness over shouting. Let your presence do the talking. Because at the end of the day, confidence doesn't come in the volume of your voice. It comes from the strength of your self-belief. The world doesn't need louder people. It needs more assertive ones. Be the person who doesn't just walk into a room. You anchor it. One of the most overlooked ways to command respect and change how people treat you is by raising your standards. Not loudly, not with announcements or ultimatums, but quietly, through how you live, how you choose, and how you show up. The moment you decide you're no longer available for less than you deserve is the moment the world begins to meet you at your new level. Because people will always treat you according to the standards you set. Most people don't realize that standards aren't about controlling others, they're about directing yourself. Your standards are the expectations you hold for your life, your relationships, your time, your energy, and your self-respect. They are not rules you demand from others, they're principles you live by. And when you hold them firmly, you naturally filter out the people, environments, and situations that don't align with them. For example, if you raise your standard for how you allow others to speak to you, disrespect no longer goes unnoticed or unchallenged. You don't argue or explain. You simply remove yourself. You show through your behavior that certain things are no longer welcome in your life. And the people who matter will adjust. The ones who don't will fall away. That's not loss. It's alignment. This applies to everything, from how you allow people to use your time to how you show up for yourself daily. If your standard is that your peace matters, you no longer tolerate drama just to keep the peace. If your standard is growth, you no longer spend time in environments that keep you stagnant. If your standard is respect, you stop chasing people who only offer attention, not admiration. Raising your standards isn't about perfection. It's about clarity. It's about deciding what you're no longer available for. Toxic conversations, one-sided relationships, low-effort behavior, constant apologizing for being yourself. You get clear on what drains you and what feeds you, then you adjust quietly, consistently. And the magic happens here once you raise your standards and stay committed to them. You don't have to push people to treat you differently. They feel it. They sense the shift because your energy no longer invites what it used to. You no longer respond to what once triggered you. You don't chase. You don't beg. You simply embody your worth, and that, more than anything you could say, commands respect. People notice what you tolerate. They observe how you respond when you're disrespected. They watch how you speak about yourself, how you let others speak to you, and how you carry yourself when no one is clapping. And based on that, they decide how to engage with you. So when you raise your standards, you're not just protecting yourself, you're teaching others how to treat you. Of course, this kind of shift takes courage. It requires you to let go of comfort, to risk being misunderstood, to walk away from people who once felt like home. But low standards are not a form of love. They're a form of fear. They're how we stay small so we don't have to face rejection. But the truth is, rejection isn't the enemy. Settling is, because every time you accept less than you know you deserve, you reinforce the lie that you're not worthy of more. It's not about being better than anyone. It's about being better for yourself. It's about choosing self-respect over self-abandonment. It's about creating a life that feels aligned, not just impressive. Because when you live in alignment with your highest standards, everything begins to shift. Your relationships deepen. Your decisions sharpen. Your confidence grows, not because everything's perfect, but because, you are consistent. And yes, some people will fall away when you raise your standards. Let them. They were aligned with the lower version of you, not the evolved one. Don't dim your light to make others comfortable. Don't lower your bar just to feel included. The right people, those who truly see you, won't be intimidated by your standards. They'll rise to meet them. They'll value your boundaries. They'll match your energy. So if you're wondering why people don't treat you better, ask yourself, what have I been allowing? Where have I been shrinking? What have I been tolerating that I know is beneath my worth? Because the moment you raise your standard, quietly but firmly, you shift the dynamic. You stop begging and start attracting. You stop chasing and start choosing. You stop selling and start rising. Raise your standards, not to impress others, but to respect yourself. And watch how the world responds.